This is the March 21st, 2024 Woodbridge Conservation Commission meeting, and we're calling it to order at 7:38. Our first order of business is public comment, and there doesn't seem to be any public comment, and I don't think we got any public comment, so we don't need to do anything with that. And the next agenda item is approval of minutes. Have you guys had a chance to look at those minutes?
Yes.
Great. Are there anything that we think we need to change with those well-written minutes?
I think they were well written. I can make a motion to approve the minutes for the February 15th, 2024 meeting.
Okay.
We can second it.
Okay. All in favor? Okay, unanimously approved. The next item on our agenda is events that are happening around town. Earth Day being a prominent one on April 27th. And we're missing 3 members, one of whom will be here shortly, one of whom said they could help out. Ben said he could help out on Earth Day, as I understand it. Should we?
I believe Rachel said that she could help out.
Rachel
she
said she
did,
could too.
yes.
Okay,
Right, yes.
great. And we have another meeting. Our next meeting is April 11th. It's not the third Thursday, it's the second Thursday, just so we make a note of that.
Oh,
Because there's kids'
It's spring
vacation.
break,
yeah.
Spring break. So we have 2 weeks to work on Earth Day after that, and the table and some of the specifics about that. But maybe we should get an idea of who can help. I can probably help a little. Val, is that something you could take a shift at?
I could check my schedule and my
Okay.
husband's schedule. And I think
'cause
so, then.
Joy, you're busy, right? Because you're doing.
I'll be there, but I'm already going to be at manning 2 tables, so I don't think I can
Okay.
add a third into that.
and-
and I might be able to spend a little time, I have to find out. I'll be down at the Darling House, but
okay.
there are a lot of us there, so I might
Okay.
be able to fill
Okay,
in.
so next time we'll have a sign-up sheet, and maybe even we'll circulate something before then so that we know. And Barbara, do you know some of the stuff that we need to have on that table? Or Valerie, you've done tables before.
Mhm.
Could,
Tim was very instrumental in putting the tables together. He
Well,
had
he's-
maps and he had signage and
so do we have any of those maps or signage?
We
You
have all the maps, they're right here
They're here at the,
at the
Town
town
hall.
hall.
okay.
Maybe when Tim comes and joins us, we could ask him
Yeah,
about
let's,
that.
let's
And-
all try to remember to do
And
that.
I have a enlarged map of the Greenway
That'd be great.
yeah.
that Tim gave to me when we were first talking about the signage. So I have that.
Okay.
Um,
Well, maybe we should make a list. Maybe when Diana's here, we can all make the list of things that we have that we could contribute. And so we can solidify that in 2 weeks. I can
believe
bring
you-
some plants
You
and
provided the tablecloth.
I can do tablecloths and plants and stuff like that. Okay, any other upcoming events that we are aware of? I'm not aware of anything in particular.
I think that's the big one in terms of what we would need to show up for. Yeah.
Okay. So we can move on to old business. As far as you, Val, you and I are up for this topic of the Connecticut DEEP Trail Grant that got in on March 11th at the due date with excellent help from Tony Genovese and all of us, and I think it's going to be a little while before we hear about it. I don't actually know the date that we hear.
I was gonna ask.
I was going to try to figure that out too. Tony didn't know it, and I looked at the literature and I didn't see it on the literature that I had, so maybe that would be something to check. It's when is that going to get? When will we know?
Yeah, I'd like to comment on the grant if I may.
Sure.
I just want to say that I thought it was very much a collaborative effort from everybody. Joy, thank you for your letter. When I first approached it, I didn't really know how to approach it, and I talked to Barbara also, because there was a point system and then there was an application. And whenever I have issues, I end up going to the library and I have to thank the people at the reference desk because they were helping me. And I did not know how to insert the graphics and the resume. So I just want to say that I did call a relative who was much younger than I am. And she came and lo and behold, she used Google Docs. And so I had typed everything out and put it in a narrative form prior, and she put it in Google Docs and then added the application. And then the second phase came in with us meeting at your house, Sharon's house, and with Barbara, and there was never more than 3 people. I just want to put that out there. There was never more than 3 people, and then we had a number of collaborative efforts with Diane and Sharon. After a while, they went on and they completed it. So I just really felt that it was we all did a great job, and it was a collaborative effort. And I'm glad that we went over that hump. At least we did our first grant. And we learned a lot. We learned about Google Docs. So maybe, I'm sure some of you already know, but for some of us that didn't.
We had a learning curve there.
Yes,
that
there
we
was
achieved it.
a learning curve. And I think it's very hopeful that we'll get this grant. But if we don't, I just want to say from the initiative, that is also so awesome. I wanted to be on this initiative from the beginning, but I had personal reasons that I couldn't, so I was able to get back on it. And history is a very sensitive topic, and for us to do something like this and to be inclusive of all populations, I think that's a really, really great thing, and I think that a lot of people will be looking at this. So I'm really happy that I was part of it, and thanks for the Historical Society, and
Yeah.
I'm learning about other initiatives that are out there. Barbara talked to me about the Stepping Stone. Stepping Stone. So I think a lot of people may be happy to hear about this initiative. So I just want to say, either way, whether we get the grant or not, I think it's a very good initiative.
Well,
So thank
I
you,
think
Barbara, and the Historical
wanna just
Society.
Add to what you're saying, Val, real quickly, is that it was a chance for us to connect with the Historic Society, which gave us their full support, and Gather New Haven, which is Pond Lily, and
Right.
we wrote them a letter of support for what their initiative, and they wrote us a letter, and the Historic Society and the Trailmaster. So it was a connecting thing also, and everyone was excited about it, and with or without the grant, we can proceed further possibly. And
If I may add to that,
Yeah.
also that obviously the land trust, who is a big part of it, since it's a lot of it on their own land or their controlled land, and they are very, very excited about it, extremely excited. And everybody I talked to was just bowled over by the whole idea, and I think it's a wonderful thought. So I think we can do this and proceed even further.
Yeah.
We'll probably keep going on signage around in different places.
welcome, Diane.
Oh, my apologies for being
Anything you want to add to that?
I'm going to echo what everybody else said. I thought it was a really intense exercise in a short period of time. I'm very impressed.
Fastest written grant ever.
Well, you
I
were
did.
you
I think
were
we
a
broke
technical
records.
engine,
I think
so
you
thank you.
did.
I don't know if I was a technical engine, but
You were.
a big thank you to Tony Genovese and Tamika for
Yeah,
helping
Mika was
to
behind it.
guide us along with that, and to help turn everything into the final version of what we needed to hand in, and to support the commission and
Yeah.
the other partners on the grant. I think it was great. It showed a great collaborative effort. So great job to everybody crossing that first hurdle. And now we have all this documentation that we can reuse as we go forward.
Well, that's true.
For other
Um,
grants.
Are we ready for our next agenda item?
I
for
think
Coop Hub? We reviewed the properties that Coop Hub had wanted us to review, and they are now working on the next group of properties, but don't have anything for us to work on right now, and we will stay connected to them and respond when they have more properties to work with. Does anyone have any questions about that? the native plant pollinator planting project.
Who's going to their next meeting?
Oh, yeah, that's the next question we have right here. So the COOPOP meeting that happens next is March 25th.
Yep.
Is anybody available to attend
Let me
that?
just tell you right now, I think I am, so I'm happy to.
Unfortunately, I'm not, but I would like to have.
Well, don't worry,
Is it-
Barbara,
is
there's
it
a few other
there are a
meetings we
few
need
more.
teammates to attend.
We'll satisfy
Few
your
more.
urge.
So it's a 6 o'clock meeting, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And, we stay for the whole thing? What do we usually do?
It's your,
Yeah, and we give
It's
an
a pretty
update.
brief
we do
meeting
stay for the
usually,
whole
I
thing.
think.
We give an update from here
Okay.
and then collect information to give us an update from there.
Mhm.
And how long do they usually run till? Just
About
because
it.
I have a 7:15 appointment, or not
Right,
an
you
Uh,
appointment,
Probably
but a
longer
thing
than
to-
that.
Probably an hour.
Okay, so I might be able to go.
That'd be
That'd
great.
be great.
45 minutes, just maybe I have to duck out the last 15
Yeah, they
minutes.
have somewhere on the agenda for a member from the Conservation Commission to give an update on what we've been working on and where we are, so.
Yeah, and if you just bring our agenda, that would probably be an
Yeah.
easy way to give them their update.
Sure,
I'm
I'm happy to do that.
I have, number 3, I have an update on the native pollinator planting project from Paul, from Paul Harrigan. He says that Chris Sullivan, a different Chris Sullivan who works for the
A different Chris
Southern
Sullivan?
Connecticut
Conservation
Mhm.
District.
Conservation
That's
District is
Spelled
planning a
differently.
site visit with the land trust and him to find the appropriate spot. And he was gonna get back to Brian Keys on the land trust to figure out if he had made contact with Chris Sullivan to see if that was happening. But he expects it to be happening within the next few weeks.
Oh,
What's the
great.
organization again? Southern Connecticut?
It's a South Central Conservation District. So we have
South-
conservation districts around the state that are regional.
South Central Conservation District, okay.
Yeah, I think.
And that's a
they're-
Chris Sullivan.
Yeah, CHRIS.
He or she?
He.
He, okay.
Just to complicate.
And they're talking about a different site now?
No, they're just trying to find the acres, the 1 or 2 acres that they're gonna choose as the site to put it on,
I gotcha, okay.
to be the most useful for, most likely
To
to.
optimize,
Exactly.
yes. And then, once that's been figured out, then they go
To
to
the Board of
the Board of
Selectmen.
Selectmen to
And
get,
then they connect with the Boy Scouts. And,
got it.
next, tree ordinance, Diana?
We've reached out to the TPZ to see if we can talk to them, the tree ordinance, and I would say the updates on their, I guess we don't have it on there, we're just talking about their consultant. The tree ordinance and the updates on the TP&Z regulations, like the landscaping regulations, are one and the same, so we're looking to meet with TP&Z and just talk to them about, what we've found already in the regulations that we think we can strengthen and see if we can get an audience with them. So I reached out to the executive assistant for the first selectman to see if we can get an introduction and set something up.
So that's pending, is the
That's
introduction.
pending.
So should we put that on the to-do? And then the next thing is CCW RFP submission review and recommendations to the Board of Selectmen. Diana?
Did you get mine? When I was
I
filling
did, I
out that
got-
form,
yep, I
that
got-
makes sense?
Yeah, I got Joy's and I got Ben's. I don't know if anybody else has had the chance to fill out the matrix on it or to review the RFPs, or if we want a little more time.
Can I give you an update too?
Yeah,
So they've eliminated a couple of them.
okay.
Oh,
So
they have.
that makes your
Life
jobs
easier?
easier, a little. They've
Which
only,
ones
they
did they eliminate?
eliminated 2. They eliminated, I don't have it in front of me, Woodfield Preserve,
Okay.
because it was really an idea versus like a meeting of the RFP specifically, right? And is it O'Riordan Mangini? Again, that was the way they submitted it. It looked more like it read like a resume versus a, we're responding to your proposal,
So
right?
candidate, the third and the sixth.
The third one and the sixth one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
okay.
the 4 that they are gonna have them come back to talk to them more about their needs, I guess, are the Robert Orr,
The Cooper.
Cooper Robertson, and the
BFP.
Peary,
and the-
Peary, and the
J.
BFJ, BFP.
And do they have a date for that meeting when they're coming back?
I don't,
April 10th, is that what it is?
I
Do-
don't know how they're, you know, I'm sure they're not meeting them all at once, you know, like, but they'll probably have a due date when they're gonna meet them, but,
When you say they are.
that's the Board of
The
Selectmen.
Board of Selectmen are going to going to meet in a public meeting with them, or do?
I don't think so, but I don't know if it's gonna be
I
public or
wouldn't think
not,
so. I
because
wouldn't
I
think
think that they're just clarifying maybe that they're gonna have them come back and, I think this was watching the recording of the Board of Selectmen meeting that they had a special meeting about this specifically, and, it sounded like their needs have obviously changed. It was a different administration when the RFP went out. So I think maybe they're just gonna try to like tweak it, and maybe, I don't know if that's gonna cause those 4 to then have to resubmit,
Yeah, I think it will.
but I think it
though.
might, you know, or maybe there's an addendum to the.
So do you think this is the timely fashion for us to make our comments, or should we wait until they resubmit the possibility?
Why don't I contact, the Office of the First Selectman just to see if we can get some clarification?
And
as to
maybe
what the
email us
status
with
is.
the results of that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything else about
Um,
that?
Yeah, so we wanted to submit something to the Board of Selectmen meeting, which I think it's probably a good idea that we have an attendee at the meeting at April 10th to get further clarification as to what their process will be. I don't know if anybody is available on April 10th.
Is it April 10th?
I don't know, now I'm curious, because I
Hold on.
think our next meeting is April 11th, yeah?
Yeah.
So Wednesday would be the 10th?
Wednesday's the 10th.
So do you wanna find out from Allison when when they're gonna have that meeting for sure? Cause I know they have had special meetings on their calendar as well as their actual meeting, and, you know, so it's a little confusing.
Yeah, let's find out some clarification on if they are meeting on this or if they are revising the RFP.
Mm-hmm.
I'll contact the Office of the First Selectman on that.
Okay.
But just on that, I mean, the one that Peary seemed to be the one that mentioned the environmental the most.
Is that the one
feel
you-
like, I felt, yeah, when I reviewed them, that out of the 4 that they are gonna be working with, they feel like, and I think they're the ones too that they're already working with for the
The town,
2030
yes,
thing
yes.
and planting of the tree, you know, like, so I feel like that might be where they're going, is like thinking about a town planner that is going to have multiple projects for us to, instead of just looking at the country club or looking at what 2030s wants to do with the business district or looking at solar panels wherever, that we actually are thinking about
It's the plan
all
of
of it.
conservation and
Exactly.
development.
Exactly.
Well, not only the plan of conservation and development, but I think the town has a position posted, right, for a consultant.
That's what, I'm sorry.
Doesn't the town have a position posted for a consultant?
For
like a
the
town
Conservation
plan.
and Commission, a separate consultant.
A separate consultant. Hang on. A town planning consultant, which closes tomorrow at 2 p.m. Soliciting proposals for part-time town planning consultant services. Consultant may be an individual or a firm. Consultant to serve as staff to the First Selectman's office and will provide technical assistance to other boards and commissions. Highly responsible role. The consultant will provide administrative, supervisory, and technical work regarding the town's current and long-range plans and demonstrate the ability to form a comprehensive and holistic vision for the future of Woodbridge that considers the various assets, challenges, needs, as well as pending and future projects, and can deliver a feasible plan to get to that end vision. The town anticipates retaining a consultant for the fiscal year 2025, and may be extended upon mutual agreement of both parties. The selected consultant will work closely with the first selectman or his designee and the town's Economic Development Commission.
Okay, well, maybe we should find out, oh, Allison, do you have another comment?
Coupot meeting canceled Monday, March 25th, 2024.
Oh, good to know.
Has it been rescheduled?
It just says that on the town website, 'cause she went on it, so I said, well, let me see what she started. I didn't even know they had a position, you know. It just says Coupot meeting canceled.
It's been
Okay.
canceled, you said?
So maybe ask
Okay.
Allison also when it's been rescheduled. Allison has quite a few questions. Are we ready for our guest speaker?
Did we review the Board of Selectmen meeting? Do you need someone there for that meeting, or we're gonna
Oh,
wait
if
to
We're
see?
trying to figure out
I
whether
think
they're
right,
having a
if we have
special
somebody,
meeting or what.
if we have somebody tentatively right now who's available to attend that, let's like book it, and then if we don't need it, then it still probably isn't a bad idea
So
to
Val, if you
have.
could do it?
April 10th,
Yes.
and just reporting back what they said, or do I have to present?
I mean, unless there's something that we need to make a comment on that's on their agenda, or an update, you know, thank you for submitting.
I can try to attend.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Board of Finance meeting was canceled today.
Okay, are we ready?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, Tim, our past chairperson, is here sharing his wisdom and thoughts with us so that we can continue on
See you all
with.
again.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, Tim.
Unfortunately,
Thought I'd
the
get
two
to
new
meet a couple
people,
new people, but
one has,
Ben and
out
Rachel-
of, they both couldn't come to this meeting. You'll meet them.
Well, in some respects, they may have been, gotten the most information out of this, some of this. will
I
be
know.
repetitive for all of you. maybe
Well, you know,
happy.
maybe
Well, then
we'll
we
have
can
them,
just skip the stuff that we already know.
Yeah.
but we can also, have them listen to the meeting.
Yes,
We can maybe write them a note.
yeah, I think
Well, they should anyway.
Yeah.
the one suggestion I'll have with that is that I do have some material that I'm gonna be handing out, so they'll want to have that before they listen to the meeting. I can
Maybe
probably
we
get
can-
it to you electronically, if that's
Okay.
easier, but I'll give you
Or we
the,
can give it to Kathy and they can come by the town hall,
sure, whatever works.
or both.
Can we have that now? Do you want us to pass that around, Tim?
Not this second.
Oh, okay.
Just want to make a introductory comment on it before I do. I've actually two things to give you today. One is a pure handout, so I'm going to pass it out at the end so it's not a distraction as we talk. And the other part addresses what I was asked to come and speak to tonight, which was the plan of conservation and development, the open space plan, and the properties worthy of preservation. As I pass this out, or before I pass it out, I will ask you to fight your instincts and not to start turning the pages on it. Well, I would turn the pages on it, I know, so
Okay.
I'm guilty of doing that, but I'll ask you not to, and the reason being just because we want to get through it expeditiously. I'd like to keep us together, and I'm going to be asking you to read certain pages at certain times. And then secondly, I'll make a comment. It'd probably be best if the questions will come up. It'd probably be best to raise the questions of clarity and understanding. What does something mean? And then hold the questions of what do we do about this, the discussion to later. Or not. So if you could, just keep it in front of you for the moment.
You.
Thanks.
I'll try to get through as quickly as I'm going to leave these with
Perfect. We'll give them to
Two
Rachel
extra,
and,
there's one extra one here.
thank you.
Yeah,
Maybe we get one, so she can at least have some sense.
I want to.
You're special.
All right, I'm gonna take my glasses out, otherwise I won't see anything. So, you turn the first to page 2, and I'll let you, or ask you to read that page. And that's what I'll be doing subsequent pages, asking you to read certain sections. And then, of course, look up and let me know you're finished so that we can move on. It's a little blurry, it's a copy of a copy of a copy. So to me, that ties directly to the upcoming POCD. So the questions it raises are the balance between letting people have the benefits of urban life and letting them have the benefits of the outdoors. And this one speaks to me, and it's something that I think should drive the spirit of what we're going to do as a town going forward and putting into the POCD. While I was here, a note came up, and that is the place to do the planning. So we'll talk about that. So why don't you flip to the next page and read all of it down. So there are numbers on the left. So I'll call them the numbered questions. So there are two questions there, long answers. So read questions 1 and 2 and the answers. And
Do you want to summarize what it says for people who are watching the video, watching live?
you may, yeah. Do you want?
Yeah, I mean, I'm
me to
guessing
do it?
you've
Oh,
read
I'm
these.
sorry.
You've read these already. Do you want to?
Well, some time ago, yes. The first question asks, what is a POCD? Just basic information. This first section is about the plan of conservation and development. And I hesitate to try to summarize what's there. We'll at least tell them the topics we're talking about. This document, I imagine, can be made available to people to download from the town website, so they can go along and read it. And the second question on the page is what guides the content of the POCD. And then that, I'll just make the comment that Connecticut general statutes do, to a large extent, outline what shall be in this POCD and what may be in the POCD. Don't get too hung up on the numbers. You can skip over them. Sorry.
All right, so for everybody watching, just to give them a little excerpt, what is the POCD, the Plan of Conservation and Development? It's a tool for guiding the future of the community. The goals and the recommendation of the plan overall reflect the overall consensus of what the policy is appropriate for the community and what the changes are decided for the future. This includes choices made to relevant physical layout, plans that are, good economic engines of a community, inform financial decisions, policies and recommendations, inform planning documents for the community, zoning regulations, mapping. I'm trying to think. And these, will make sure that we get these posted live for everybody. Review for infrastructure projects, zone changes, text amendments. This is by Connecticut General Statute Section 823. For instance, things that it shall state for policies, goals, and standards for physical and economic development of the municipality. It goes on to state that the plan may contain recommendations for infrastructure such as road, bridges, parks, buildings, public housing, utility relevant relative to location, relocation improvements, as well as any other recommendations as will in the commission's or any special committee judgment be beneficial to the municipality.
So this is for purpose of background. Any questions on the meaning here? What this is? Is
Yeah,
it
so
all
I
pretty
think-
straightforward and clear?
Right, so I think probably the most important sentence which I skipped over is the goals and standards for the physical and economic development of the municipality's goals, and shows the commission's recommendation for the most desirable use of the land within the municipality for recreational, commercial, industrial, and other purposes.
Right. And I guess it's fair to comment that, you know, I lifted this pretty much from the City of New London, because I thought it was well written and expressed the
Yeah.
spirit of it.
But they go on to say, if the proposal is determined to be not consistent with the POCD, it should not be supported. So it affects what we're willing, as a town, willing to do.
It should have, the POCD should be a real guiding document for what's done in the town.
Sure.
It is, as you'll see later on, it is the consensus of the town as voted on
Every 10 years.
Right.
every 10 years. It can be modified sooner than 10 years.
And in fact, it should be modified
And it-
because
and-
things, recommendations
Yeah,
and things should be getting completed that are.
And
that
Diane,
are
you
listed.
said what I was leaving hanging. I mean, there should be good cause, but it should be modified if it needs to. The town changes in its mind, the town as a entity. Okay, so let's flip to the next page. If you're good with those, read questions, items 3 and 4. And we'll stop there.
So is the POCD required? The Connecticut General Statute requires each municipality prepare, amend, adopt a POCD at least every 10 years. Does Woodbridge currently have one? Yes, it was adopted March 23rd, 2015. It became effective May 1st, 2015. Who creates it? The Planning Commission of the municipality shall prepare and amend and adopt the conservation development. In Woodbridge's case, it's the Town Planning and Zoning, TPZ, that is the commission
That produces it
that produces
with
it.
other commissions' input.
Mhm.
Okay.
But that's just who creates it, how is it created?
Yeah, let's stop after number 4 first and just check in. Everybody finished reading 3 and 4? Any questions on those two? That's straightforward?
Yep.
Then do 5 and 6. Diana had started to jump.
Okay, so given, just for folks who are watching tonight, as interesting as it is to watch us read, requires that at least once every 10 years, the commission of the municipality should prepare or amend it. So given the last date, it was effective on May 1st, 2015. So given the 10-year requirement, Woodbridge is intending to adopt one for 2025 through 2035. So it looks like we've got about, a year of runway ahead of us to conduct that. And just for everybody else's information, that's typical for a municipality. It's going to take you about a year to survey the community, understand the pressing issues within the community, try to get some of that, try to get some of the dialogue with residents, with businesses, with everybody who's considered a stakeholder within the community to weigh in on various topics with their interest.
And that job opening that is closing was probably a key person for this, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think it said it in the job posting.
Mm-hmm.
questions on understanding what it means, the 5 and 6? We good?
And just for everybody listening, it says that it states that the preparation of such a plan, the planning commission, which in this case is TPZ, may appoint one or more special committees to develop and make recommendations for the plan. The membership of any special committee may include residents of the community, representatives of local boards dealing with zoning, inland wetlands, conservation, recreation, education, public works, finance, redevelopment, general government, and other municipal functions. And then it talks a little bit about the duties for that special committee, holding public informational meetings, other meetings to organize and inform residents of the process. Okay?
And that consultants were used in the past,
Yes.
and they suspect they'll be doing that again this time, but they don't have the plan that TPZ is going to be using is
Well,
not
I think it really
Right.
actually has worked the other way. At least the last time I wasn't there, but as I can interpret it in casual knowledge, the consultant is hired, and there's, as you know, you've been talking about the consultant being selected. The consultant, I will speak to last time because I don't know what this consultant will do. But typically consultants who are in this business have come in with pre-knowledge of what POCD should be, and they bring a template. And then their work is reaching out to the community, as someone has made reference to, and to the Board of Selectmen and to other interested boards and commissions, gathering the information that will go to fill in the template and make it specific to the town. That's
Wouldn't
how the
they
last one
use-
seemed
Wouldn't
to
they
work.
use the last one we had and just figure out what are we keeping, what are we
Yeah.
getting rid of, what are we, you know what I mean?
For-
What are we altering
that-
instead of inventing
that-
it from scratch, you know?
Well, that could be their approach. As I mentioned, I don't know what this will do, but typically consultants are doing this. They've kept up with, and you'll read next about the state, what the state does. The state has goals. And so they may have incorporated that into a template, and then we'll ask questions about those. So it may not be, it may be, the sections I think will largely be the same. Open space is a section that'll hopefully still be there. And I think that the demographics will probably be there. They'll probably do much the same thing. Okay, why don't we go into page 5. Question 7 and 8. Just like to take them 2 at a time through here.
Tim, is this from the, did you write this, or is this taken,
I put this together.
okay,
In the couple spots where I lifted pretty much wholesale with just changes, I put the asterisks there and told you the town it came from. My basis is the research up online for the Connecticut site and the Connecticut statutes, and so those come, and usually you can tell because they're quoted, CGS quoted.
okay, so the draft plan would be available prior to public hearing on adoption. Commission would submit a copy of the plan, review it, hold a town meeting so folks from the community can listen in. And then the legislative body chooses to, accept it or request amendments or something.
And it requires a
What-
2/3 majority vote to enact it by the town. correct?
Once everybody finishes those 2 questions, we'll stop and I'll try to summarize this a bit as I understand it, the process. Why don't you finish just reading those here at the bottom?
Well, 9 is actually pretty important too.
Yeah, we'll go to there, Sharon.
Yeah, I
Let's
think-
just stop after 8 so we can talk about that, because that is, it's written in a statute, it's not completely clear. I'll tell you my understanding as I've read it, which is, and I just waiting for a couple last people to look
Oh.
up before I go. I don't, it's hard to read and have someone talking, as
Yes.
you pointed out, Sharon, so.
Please.
Okay, summarize away.
Okay. Well, I think you look at the PSCD and say it's the responsibility of the planning commission of the town. It's very clear. And so the adoption of it is the responsibility of the planning commission. They're the ones that have the final vote. If we go back to the beginning, the plan is drafted, responsibility of the planning commission. Probably will use the consultant to do that. They're in the process of hiring.
By planning commission, you mean TP&Z?
Yes,
Okay.
it's town planning.
And
And
so, I just
it's
want-
made up of two parts. When you talk to Chris, for instance, she'll talk about the two parts, and they're sort of
Uh-huh.
separate together, but, they'll get a lot of input, they'll go through the process. When it's ready, the planning and zoning will say, it's ready. And then it starts with having to go to the public hearing. And the public hearing provides benefit back to TP&Z. And it may or may not change. The Board of Selectmen gets involved because they will vote to adopt none of it, all of it, parts of it.
Uh-huh.
Currently, that's in the statute, I think you read. And then it goes back to TPZ, and TPZ can say, if the Board of Selectmen endorsed all of it, then TPZ votes on it, normally, it sounds like it's a majority vote. If they've said, yeah, we like all of it, but the open space plan, then TPZ can still adopt it as for the town, but it's by 2/3, the item you just pointed out. That's my understanding of it. I direct you back to the statute itself, but that is my,
Tim, is it your experience or thought that the town planning and zoning would get in touch with us and say, we need this by this time and this by this, or do we just generate and
I
go forth and contribute?
I would hope they would do that.
What did they do last time?
I
Do we
Do we have any
wasn't-
history?
I wasn't here.
No, no.
Well,
We all
I
have the
wasn't-
plan.
But do we have any historical context on
Yeah.
what the process was 10 years ago?
Well, there are people around who,
Jason, right?
participated.
Was
Jason
Jason-
Morrow was there.
Mm-hmm.
Sheila McCraven, who was on the Board of Selectmen now. I don't necessarily know that she was on the Board of Selectmen then.
No,
but-
she wasn't.
No.
To talk, I do have a little hearsay if you want, talking to people. I know that Jason was chair of the Conservation Commission. I believe at that time, years may be a little off, Sheila was on CUPOP, might have been the chair of CUPOP. And they worked very closely together and contributed towards the open space plan. And so that was last time. It's up to the planning and zoning and what the process is going to like. That was the comment on the previous page. It's not knowing what the process is, and they haven't been ready because they're just ramping up. Probably, I would hazard a guess that none of them were here last time. It's all new board members, so it's not well known. We'll find out as the consultant gets in and they lay that out. It would be my personal recommendation that you would pursue that to find out and lobby for the participation that's going to allow you to represent. It's after all the plan of conservation and development. So I think you should have a big voice in that. I think will come up in the next, well, if not the next two questions, shortly thereafter.
Tim, may I ask something first?
Yeah.
In this, you say the legislative or the Board of Selectmen may hold one or more public hearings. Do they have to hold them?
Well,
They did last year, they
I
had
know.
charrettes, or,
I
They
know
had
they
3 of
did
them.
hold them, but
Yeah.
must they
Uh-huh.
hold them? Is it required?
I put down the words that I saw in the statute. I'm gonna leave it at that.
So it's not necessarily required, okay.
Now, but there is, that's a, there, so there's a difference. There's a public hearing, and then there's a public meeting on adoption. So there has to be a public meeting on
It
adoption.
has to be a public meeting, right,
On adoption.
But not
The public
necessarily-
hearings.
not necessarily hearings before the
Right.
public meeting.
That's the
Okay.
May.
Okay,
That's what my understanding, reading through this.
And there's specific sections from when I've looked at the plan of conservation development that pertain to us, and
That's
some
right.
really don't.
Right,
And there's only about 2 or 3 that really do.
right.
And maybe
Yes.
we should get informed with those and maybe have a special meeting or something where we read them and sort of cull through it so we get some idea of where we wanna go, or maybe it's a regular meeting.
Well, right, and I would suggest, you know, that, to Joy's point, the last one is probably a driver of what this one's gonna be, so you
Yeah.
wanna spend time with the
I
last
mean,
one.
different than development, conservation has some consistency to it, so it
Yeah.
might not have to even be that different.
Well, and we start to move into the, you know, properties with preservation, so,
It could be different though, because I think there's some teeth to what we want to do. Because if we look at what the state POCD is right now, I know that they are really doing a lot in terms of conservation.
Actually, maybe that's a good idea.
And
Maybe
so we should probably sync up with them
Mm-hmm.
because
that's
that's an
in-
opportunity for us.
So it looks
That's in number
It looks
7.
like in planning the plan, the recommendation from the state is that the commission should consider, the commission or special committee that's working on it should consider the following: community development action plan, need for affordable housing, need for protection of existing and potential public surface and ground drinking water supplies, the use of cluster development and other development patterns to the extent consistent with the soil types, terrain, infrastructure capacity within the municipality, the state plan of conservation development adopted pursuant to the previous chapter, the regional plan of conservation development, so a regional plan, physical, social, economic, governmental conditions and trends, the needs of the municipality, but not limited to human resources, education, health, recreation, social services, public utilities, energy efficiency patterns, transportation, public protection, so it's, there's a number of things, the protection and preservation of agriculture, recent sea level rise,
There's
need
a
for
huge climate
technology.
change initiative right now.
Yeah, like I know the one that we wrote in Branford a few years back, they talk about, you know, sustainability and resiliency and, like in theirs, there was a recommendation to establish a coastal resiliency fund, which the town did, and, you know, sustainability committee and the clean energy committee, so it seems like there's a lot that's out there that we
Is
can
there
use.
anything where Kathy might look up the state
Yeah.
plan?
I'm gonna
POCD?
intercept that question and
What?
refer you back, your question, and refer you back to number 7.
Yeah, number 7 is the link to
Okay.
what the
That-
state's
Hmm.
POCD.
Is that
Right now.
many pages or is that like succinct?
It's many pages.
It's
pages.
big, but
Many pages, yeah.
but you can search it, can't you?
Yeah,
You know, you
yeah,
can
yeah,
just
yeah, you
to
can
put
look
So
at
there's
in,
only a draft right now for the
Right.
state for the 25, 31.
but they'll be adopting it in 2025 as well. So it's probably.
There's a current one for 2018-23. The state updates
Yeah.
theirs every 5
Yeah.
years.
But I
That-
do know that this draft, I've seen sections that are dealing with like agricultural, and climate, you know, sustainability, you know, things like that, it's very strong.
So it
So
might
we
give
should
us
look
some-
into that.
Yeah,
It-
it might
it-
give us some fortification in our.
It gives you what the state is establishing as goals for the state. I've read it. It does not tie section by section to what the outline of the Woodbridge POCD is gonna be, or any town's POCD.
Right.
It's a set of goals. So hopefully our POCD, you know, the state's hope, I should say, is that the towns, POCDs, cities will fall within the
reflect
umbrella
some of
of the
the-
goals and support the goals.
And wouldn't there be funding as well?
Well, that-
Potentially
I-
that they would
I-
have initiatives that are important to them, like
Yes.
to deal with flooding and,
That, if it's well organized,
Yeah.
if the state's well organized, the funding will support the goals as well. So if you're not doing things that are towards the goals, you're not gonna score as well on the rubric to get the grant.
exactly.
So with that, let's try to move on. We'll read 9 and 10, if you would.
So, Tim, what you have listed here is, what the role is of the Conservation Commission is, just as it's stated in the state, that's not,
Well,
just so
no.
people aren't confused, that's not
I-
what's listed on the Plan of Conservation Development, it's a related point that you're making, right?
Are you referring to number 9?
Yep.
Number 9, I was gonna make a comment on this when Pinnacle will finish. I'll start now. I think you should be mostly finished. The first paragraph talks about the statute. So the commission, Conservation Commission can definitely do that. The second sentence is more of an opinion. So it's not out of a document. That's just common sense in my mind, but, and in the third paragraph as well, that's advice perhaps, that you should be ready to provide that information, because it's gonna come fast, because they're gonna try to meet a deadline, and so you'll be under the gun to produce the information that's asked for. So you should be in the position to do that, and that's gonna necessitate doing some work ahead of time. Diane, I don't know if I answered your question, so if you'd like to ask it again, I will answer it.
Yeah, no, I just want to be clear that this document that you put together for us is some parts, pieces of state statute, some parts about the POCD, some parts about the role of the Conservation Commission in a municipality, and then some parts are excerpts that are like Tim's recommendations or opinions.
It's
Just to be
which
clear,
could be
there's a
scattered
blend in
throughout.
here.
You'll find, references to state statutes when it's a state statute.
Right,
But it's
okay.
as it says on the front. It's information, there's some real information, it's perspectives, maybe my perspective, and needed actions to,
Perfect, thank you.
yeah.
I just want to be clear for anybody who's reading it, the whole thing is not excerpts from state statute in there.
No, why I put that in the front. Okay, we good on page 5? Everybody's information questions? So with that, we turn from the POCD to the open space plan on page 6.
And in your perspective, the open space plan is important because it helps us already have some ideas and thoughts that can go into the plan of.
Absolutely. The
Conservation
open space plan open space plan expresses the Conservation Commission's plan for open space for the town.
And we passed that in 2020, right?
There was one passed in 2020. You're gonna see when you read page 6,
Or 2022?
2020 is what
Oh, no, the Greenway was done in
Yeah.
22, and the open space was 2020. Okay. All right.
Okay, why don't you read through page 6 and the answer, an elaboration on that when it was passed is there. So again, I've liberally, for the first question of what's an open space plan, I quoted some other towns, just because I thought it was well-written and expressive. There's a long history of Conservation Commission, Woodbridge having open space plans. They were done yearly almost in the beginning, and it's become a lot less often. And there's no guidance on that per se. Any questions on facts here, meetings? And I hope this is good background for the new members as well when they get it. Okay, so I would suggest 4, 5, and 6 here, and stopping. So 4, 5, and 6, and then we can talk about that.
Tim, I have a question. Have we ever looked at open space plans of surrounding towns or anything?
I have. The commission, I don't
Do you
know
have any
that has
copies of any of
been
that?
through that exercise.
Do you have any copies of any of those?
Which towns have you looked at?
I don't recall which ones, and I don't know if I downloaded them or just read them where they were.
Okay. Kathy, could you find us like Bethany's open space plan or something? Is there any other town that might be helpful? Maybe Hamden?
If I have them, you'd like me to.
Well,
They're online on all the
Yeah.
town's
They're
websites.
they typically are online.
if we had a handout, we could maybe
Yeah.
use that.
And, you know, I think one that I looked at is the New London one, because that's, they were talking about it. And so,
Maybe
look
Old
at that
Saybrook
one.
might have an interesting one.
I think Reading would be interesting too, just because they don't have a very big business district, and neither do we. You know, they don't have a lot of street lights, or, you know,
Uh-huh.
like, I feel like,
It's a similar kind of rural.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so, I think I'll suggest that you'll find a great deal more variation on what are in open space plans than you will POCDs. That's a guess on my part, just
Mhm.
because the consultants tend to have an approach and they try to match the state to some extent. So if there's no questions on 4, 5, and 6, why don't you go to 7 and 8?
So the open space plan is separate of the POCD. And how often does that need to be?
There, as it states, there's no guidance in state statute about
Could
how
be every
often it
year,
needs to be
could
done.
be-
There's no regulation that says you have to have an open space plan. Most conservation commissions have found it useful to be able to develop an open space plan and communicate that to the community so that the community will coalesce around it. And it informs, should inform the POCD. Because there's a whole section on open space. So what better to inform the POCD?
So do we,
And-
does Coopop also have an open space plan then?
No.
How does,
No.
so,
Would have
do-
no
but do
reason
they?
to have an open space plan.
Now, it says that the Conservation Commission here in section 7-131B, the Conservation Commission may supervise and manage municipally owned open space park property upon delegation of such the authority.
That's management of parcels of open space the municipality owns.
I have a
Woodbridge
question,
has not
Tim.
delegated that to the Conservation
On
Commission.
your number 7, you say that we should, I guess that's your opinion, that we should redo the open space plan. Well, we just did it 2 years ago. Why would it need redoing so much?
I think it's driven largely by that open space plan had a very limited number of properties worthy of preservation.
Oh,
That would be primary reason.
expand it to be more, and
Yeah,
prior
I-
open space plans, did they have more properties?
Excuse me.
Prior open space plans had more properties?
No, it's been a rather constant list. From what I could tell, the open space plan's been sort of handed down, and it hasn't changed much. It's gotten expanded, to use your term. My term would be bloated. I think it can be shrunk down.
Wait,
And
so
I'm
you
gonna
think
talk about
it has
that.
too many properties on it? Or you
No,
think-
content that doesn't need to be there, I think needs to be shrunk to be a more effective document, a more effective communication of what the open space plan is.
But that more space could be considered
But-
valuable
but-
open space?
But we certainly have identified, the last commission identified more properties that should be preserved in town. And I think you want to bake that in to the open space plan and then
And
get
is
that
that in,
into the
where,
process.
is that in the Woodbridge Greenway plan that those properties are, or where do we have that, where would we find those expanded?
Again, I missed the question, Sharon. Is that-
Where would we find the expanded numbers of properties that would be, could be included?
That's the work that the
That's-
commission
that we were
did
doing.
last year and that I need
We
to
tried to
convey.
get finished, okay.
I
The
will
spreadsheet that we
convey.
were looking at, the
Yeah.
properties.
Yes.
So those would be properties that if we were gonna update the open space plan,
Okay.
one update we could do would be include the additional properties we thought that were worthy of preservation.
Also, we revised the Greenway plan. That's been part of the open space plan.
Well, the Greenway plan is something that is actually in the statute.
Yes, well, that can be,
There,
the open space plan is not necessarily part of the POCD. I mean, it could be made part of the POCD. That's up to
TP&Z has
the-
that decision, or we have that decision to ask TP&Z to include that?
Not TP, well,
it's-
whoever
it's
the
the-
planning commission is,
The plan, it's up to the planning commission and
and their
and
special
the town
committee that
and
they
the
have.
Board of
Okay.
Selectmen.
All right,
But it's for, you can suggest, you can ask. If not the plan in totality or by reference, then it's the concepts in there that should inform it.
the other thing that comes to mind here, we reviewed all kinds of properties that, for one reason or another, were listed with the town as open space or as possibly open space or farmland or this or that. But in doing other work, I have discovered several other large tracts of land that are just owned by people.
Right.
But would be very worthy of preservation, that we've
And
never
Barbara,
even talked about.
I make
Right.
I make that point coming up in a
Oh,
couple
sorry.
pages. No,
I didn't read ahead.
that's okay. Sharon, I'll also call your attention to the very last bullet on this page before we go to page 8. Just, because I think
previous
you
chair of the
stopped
commission
to
began
ask a
drafting
question before you
changes in
got down there.
structure.
Yeah. So, I had some thoughts where
Okay.
it got expanded where maybe it didn't have to be. So let's go on to, sorry.
Okay, well, can we finish this up in 20 minutes, 15 minutes?
Yeah, I got
More or less,
Gotta-
because I think we have a couple
just-
other things we need to talk about.
we got 3 pages. The next page are, what should be the actions moving forward on the properties worthy of preservation? That's probably where the answer, what Barbara just brought up is.
So these are the activities that we're working on right now, finish classifying those, we're still waiting on the update from Coopop for their next properties.
But we should also probably get the last of the templates that you had to the town properties that we never finished.
Yes,
Finish
that,
doing
that
those.
is, will come out of tonight, just be ready for me to send those over and, you know.
Diana.
just-
Yeah,
and
go
con-
right ahead.
and
Oh, thanks.
I want-
Thanks, yeah.
Wanted to have
Our tech expert.
who to send it to. And.
You
I
know,
want-
Ben's not here tonight, and in tradition of our commission, I think if you're not here, you get the homework assignment, so.
Why don't you, I make a comment about who might be suitable for getting this exact file. So why don't you read page 8, all 3 questions.
It has Diana's name written all over it.
Great, okay. Sure, Tim, you can send that over to me.
I'm gonna copy Sharon. I
Okay.
think
You
it's only
can.
fair.
She's gonna call you to ask you what Excel means.
Oh, boy.
And probably Kathy too. You should have it.
We have our designated tech person.
Or everybody on the commission, so,
Okay.
so we don't have it.
Okay.
All right.
Good with number 8. I will make a comment on question number 1 on page 8. You know, it says category 3, there's 75 properties that need to go through. There's many of those, the previous commission already talked about, because they are properties that either fall on the greenway, or they're just town properties, like where town hall sits. I mean, or they're properties that are previous open space plan that we said should be preserved. So we did a pre-classification on those that needs to be reviewed and accepted. So it's not, I don't believe that's that daunting. Okay. Okay, then page 9 is what would need to be done on the open space plan, in my view. And I'm going to say, as you start to read, that there's no rigid requirement of what the sections are. So there are some sections you may say, be nice to have, but we won't do it this time, we'll do it next time. So I'll say you'll get to a list of grants, for instance, not strictly required. A list of government regulations that affect open space. Not, you might make choices on those.
Tim, was there somebody at the state forester office that we were coordinating with that you can do an introduction?
Yep.
All right, I think Ben would be the best person for that, since he was already looking at that area.
And, I will say, that's something you want to do expeditiously.
Sure.
When Ben gets back.
Yeah, he should be
in
back next
ability.
week if you want to email him.
Well, you have to maybe send an email and include both of us, make an introduction and give me
Oh,
his
sure,
contact
sure. Sorry,
information.
yeah, I thought you.
It's not, no, I was looking forward to meeting Ben and Rachel tonight.
Maybe we have to have dinner when you come and meet them some other time.
There we go. I will add for number 6, something that was on my mind I forgot to put down and then I remembered on the way here today. I would also add, again, to convey a courtesy copy to the Housing Committee.
It's a good idea.
Try to, you know, keep informed those people who this information is relevant to. I can't think of other people, I mean,
Maybe wetlands.
in a different, it's an opinion perhaps, you know, wetlands is very transaction oriented. If something comes before them, they act on that specific thing. The other commission, but it doesn't seem to have happened in Woodbridge. I believe it happens in other towns. There's a little more of a tie-in with recreation. As you see, there are a lot of references to open spaces, a lot of times recreational space. And so for them to know and times have input. Okay, any questions on page 9? Getting a little worn out at this point, but any questions of fact or? Okay, if not, there are just, I tell you, well, I was actually gonna talk through the last 2 pages, but I think you've read it and you probably get the point of what needs to be done.
And these other items are good sort of items that, from your time as chairperson, things that are ongoing that you might have thought of that we haven't necessarily thought
Well,
of, sort of.
Yeah, there's 2 different ones. I'm gonna talk to Diana to jump ahead, the state forester, we had made that arrangement. So springtime is the time, and we should get in touch and get that going. My suggestion is you get in touch, get that going.
And you guys, you're gonna make a connection with Diana.
And Diana apparently,
And get Ben on that.
you know, I'd be glad to provide that information
That'd be great.
to him. All right. The second item is something new. So, the town, as you probably know, had done away with the paper newspaper, and instead is substituting an email
The newsletter, you mean?
newsletter.
Yeah.
Well, the town newspaper was put out once a month. It's no longer being put out. The substitute for it is a monthly email newsletter. The first one I got was just this past month. I believe it was the inaugural one. It came out over a weekend. It was just on March 2nd, I believe. And that's going to be monthly and is divided into sections telling about what's going on in town. So the suggestion because we do second Sunday events to provide stewardship of the open space in town, we make a request to have a section there just to contain that information. And it strikes me that, you know, if it's named,
Who does the stewardship events?
it's the,
Andy Danzig,
it's
right?
It's the Trail Master, is it?
well, it's the Trail Master, yes. And some years ago, Betsy Yagla put together a group of people who had interest in the maintaining of the trails within Woodbridge. It crossed the Land Trust and the Park Association. And we now just call ourselves the Woodbridge Trail Stewards. And so that group, we've been working on this, put together volunteers to do some of the trail maintenance. I hope you all join the mailing list and be able to come out when the weather's nice and help us out a little bit. And so we're going to use this section just to put that information in the paper, hopefully get more volunteers. But it might be a good section to put in those events have invasive control or pollinators and other things that affect the open space.
Huh,
The thought
that's a
there.
good idea.
So I wanted to, you know, bring that to the commission, the thought, what we have.
And who?
Diana, you have a question on that? Looks like you were thinking
I
hard on it.
actually just was looking at the Memorial Hall and it struck me that there was the Purple Heart on there. And so I was like, oh, interesting. So, unrelevant.
Yeah.
Sorry, facial expression,
Who
unrelevant.
composes the monthly email?
Pardon me?
Who
Kathy probably knows.
composes? Kathy, do you know who composes?
I think Tony Valinsky is in charge.
Tony?
Tony, I knew did the old one, I wasn't sure.
No, I think she's still in charge. I'm not
Okay.
positive, but.
The
she
format's
did the first-
changed, yeah.
So
Yeah,
if
she
we
did
have
first
something,
Yeah.
we should communicate with her, or we could communicate with you and you could communicate with her?
Well,
That's,
I think we can communicate stuff to the Office of the First Selectman and
Yeah.
see if,
Yeah.
okay.
Well,
Or Tony? Yeah.
get
you
some
know,
help.
and this was something that we as the Trail Students wanted to ask for. So if you're okay, I'll just continue and I'll go talk to Tony and get the section set up. Now, the events.
Do you want us to talk to you about it, or just put it in that section if we have something to add? I mean, is it your section, or is it the general
Well,
conservation?
no, I think
section?
it's an open space section, so
Okay.
I don't think you have to come, if there's a event on invasives that you're sponsoring,
Okay,
or anybody, I think.
or composting or
Or
something?
composting,
Sorry,
perfect.
Just, are you
Well-
are you looking for us to endorse that this group of interested parties who do the preservation on open space, are you looking for us to endorse that group having a section in this newsletter that goes out to talk about those events?
It'd be wonderful if you would endorse it, or.
What he's looking for is contribution.
Well.
Or both? You're looking for
Or
both,
both.
us supporting
both,
it.
but-
Contribution to that
I
section.
think, if the
Yeah.
commission doesn't wanna have any, position on it, we're gonna go forward and talk to,
Yeah.
Tony and whoever makes the decision on the final content, saying we'd like to have this section because it's important for the town
think it's
trails
great.
to have volunteers to maintain it, and this is where we get volunteers. So endorsement would be good, and,
Okay.
you know, I'm gonna try to get that section, and then I'm offering that it would be to name it generic enough so that other things that you might do would go in there.
Nice.
And you just go directly to Tony with the things, and she'll say, oh, I've got a good place to put that, I don't have to create another section. Because I think a problem with the old one is it had started to
Bloat.
get longer and longer.
Yeah, and there's like a whole, so there's like getting people in this town that's very fragmented to even know what is happening. But then, you know, in terms of like open space stewardship, if pollinator pathways in there and invasives are in there and trail maintenance is in there or whatever, you know, there's an education component to it, right? Whether we're gonna like move to composting or we're gonna any of these things. And now that we don't have a newspaper, a physical newspaper that comes to the house, you know, like and I'm not saying that everybody read that either, but you know, we need to find a way to connect people to the information to know.
So you're saying it's a good idea that if we were to.
I do, I just think
it's
that, you know, it would be nice if we knew what the content was a little bit more, just because, you know, if you want to stay non-biased, or, you know what I mean, like, you don't want to, you know, some groups can get very political, and, you know, so you have to be mindful of that, right? But yeah, I mean, we need a space
Yeah.
where these groups come together, you know, so the Trail Master's not on their own, and, you know, if we're gonna
Are we
make
talking
this
about like a physical space on this newsletter? Or are we
just, I think that the way I understand this newsletter happening is they're gonna kind of do like what they did last month was for families. You know, they have almost like a
theme.
theme, exactly.
I thought that was good.
And it is.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Unless you miss it, you know, on that particular
It should
month.
be
you know.
My sense from the newsletter, the focus was on events, things that are happening.
They are, but it's a theme. So like it had a slant last time that was very much oriented towards families
Yeah.
wondering what's happening in town, what are the summer camp options, all of those kinds of things.
if, in this case, we're saying second Sunday events, we would make clearer than we might in another context that this was appropriate for kids, that we like to have families out. It's been very fun when we've had
Well, I think
scout
if
troops out.
that's all we're looking to do is try to get these second Sunday events listed in the next newsletters that are coming out, then that's just a simple request. We need to know just the details of it. If
Yeah,
you're
and that
looking
we
for us
would-
to say we
would
support
generate
it, I don't
those. I think that
Do you need
the
a
name,
vote or anything on that?
I tried to come up with a name that was communicating that there is open space in town, and that needs to be stewarded,
Ended it.
and that there's work going on to steward the open space. And then under that, maybe you expand it if you want to add some of those, the other items that I mentioned that are somewhat related to open space. Just as a place.
Well, yeah, I mean, even the garden, you know, like, so that people that, if I moved here
Yeah.
yesterday, and even living here
Are you
over a
trying to pass
decade, you
something?
don't know what all the things are. If you were interested in taking a walk, or, you know, like a guided hike, maybe there was there's so many different groups in town doing things with this beautiful place we call home, but a lot of people don't even know of what's happening at Macero Farm on any given day,
It's very
let
hard.
alone on the trails, let alone, you know, in the community garden. And so I think the intent is they are trying to get it so that people will be able to tap into that information a little bit more
Yeah, so
easily.
maybe it's a location people can go, that section to find information. And people will have related, people who are interested in participating every Sunday, they would be interested in other activities around the open space.
Is it
So-
only second Sunday, or could it be any?
Well,
No,
no,
that's
no.
when they do it regularly,
when
so
they
that they
do the
have it,
trail
so.
maintenance.
That's the trail
Yeah.
That's,
I think
master.
we
that's
need to
only the
move on.
trail.
That's
maintenance.
all
Okay.
it
Other
is.
things can go in there, is what I'm saying, Drew. that-
Okay.
That
Any
relate-
conservation
would be-
related
Right,
things
that's
that
a
we're
great way of
involved
putting it,
with or
Barbara.
whatever.
Yeah.
That's a great way of putting it. But, the folk, you know.
Okay, so
usually open
it's,
space.
it's 9:00 right now.
Yep.
Tim looks
I'm
like he's
done.
got something else to pass out to us.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk
Tim,
about
thank
this.
you very much for coming
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, thank you.
And,
Anytime.
okay, and we
And
may
I-
need you as another
And I-
resource in the
And I meant to
future.
say that, you know, you all have my phone number, but feel free to call me on any of it. You can pass on the
Oh,
number
we
Thank you.
will.
to Ben Rich. This is something that's similar structure that I did with the housing committee. They asked me to come and talk about the Greenway. So it's structured the same, and it's just consolidated information, mostly about the Greenway and then what pieces of property are in the Greenway. I thought it might be helpful for,
Okay.
again, your new members.
Yeah,
So let go.
thanks.
I'll give you this. I ended up, I asked them to bring a whole bunch of extras.
That's right. Let's make a recommendation to all guests that they print on double sides, since we're the Conservation Commission.
Bless you.
Bless you.
If we can help with that, let us know. Right, Kathy?
You can,
Right, I learned.
We're not doing that anymore. No more single-sided printing
if you
here.
make your printer do it,
If not, you give me a call.
I can't make my printer do it.
Yes, Tim?
My closing comment would be, there's still a lot to do,
Yes, we can tell.
Always.
and you need to plan a discussion, plan how to attack it, so.
I think we should make a meeting in a few months to make it, that be our focal point, to sort of figure out how we're gonna
Yeah.
attack it. Or cultivate.
I'm gonna address that, I don't think you have a few months.
Well, May.
What are we talking about?
Maybe I misunderstood your comment.
What?
I was thinking in a few months, we can have a meeting that we devote to it, and April seems, you think we need to start ASAP?
Well, yeah, because, and I think.
Which one are we talking about? The open space, or are we talking about the plan of conservation development?
You cannot take any action on the plan of conservation development until the planning commission asks you to participate.
Sure.
What you can do
It's pre-planned.
is prepare, and you prepare by preparing, in my mind, you prepare by getting an open space plan that is complete and that includes the elements, the greenway and the property's worth of preservation and some of the other revisions to the open space plan that need to be made, so that you're ready when they come, when the consultant comes on, knocks on the door and says, tell me about this, or tell me about, you can answer, you have the data. So and they're gonna come, you think about, this work is gonna take you some months. They're gonna be hiring a consultant over the course of the next month,
Right,
another
so
month for
by
that person
June,
to
they're
get
gonna be
started.
wanting to know some
Okay,
stuff.
so you're gonna, it's gonna be June, my guess would be, June, July, when that person's gonna start knocking on doors.
So I think our first thing is finish the list that we were finishing before, so you're gonna get that to Diana,
Tomorrow.
and we can maybe put that on the agenda for the next month or so.
And,
We can always have a special
I mean,
meeting for this too.
My initial comment was, you need to talk about how you're gonna approach all the things that need to be done. As I mentioned, some of them can be split up, perhaps. Someone who knows Word better than Excel can start to, make sure, tie together some of the open space items while you're working on the specific list. But I'll leave that up to you. Okay, but I think there is some urgency because of the timetable. It's gonna go once a month, and this meeting, goes very quickly.
Okay, thank you. Thank you,
Have a
thank you.
good night.
Great,
Appreciate your help.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Okay, going back to the agenda real quick, I just want to confirm, so next meeting I will not be here, but we have the Earth Day event that's coming up on the 27th. Do we have members who think they could attend? And-
We talked about this before you got here.
Yeah,
We don't have
Oh,
Joy.
wait a minute. We forgot to ask Tim about the
Oh, Tim.
table.
Oh, Tim, hold on, I have a question.
Tim, you
Tim.
just remembered.
For Earth Day,
Do you want to be on the table?
we would like to have a table there. And, we know you had some nice materials and, set up for the Woodbridge Like Me event. Where are those materials and, could you help us with getting, the materials together for the table?
I have, referring to the maps, I have the maps.
Mm-hmm.
Last with me. They are, those are valuable for the commission, and they have value for the trails themselves. So, the question, here, the whole question, I can just deliver those over to whoever you want me to deliver them.
You can deliver them to me.
Be ready for that.
Okay. And do we have
Have that.
brochures too that we handed out last time?
We had, they're right
Like a
here.
pamphlet, right?
Oh, so we
Yeah,
can
right.
grab some.
We didn't have pamphlets, we had the maps. I think I have the list at home of what we had
Okay.
on the table.
Yeah, we did not have any brochures.
Oh, okay.
What we had, we handed out, were, we asked people not to take the town map, trail maps. We asked them to use a QR code to go up and download their copies. We had sample maps there. We also had a way to sign up to volunteer for the trail stewardship and the second Sunday events. And that was pretty much it. We had some books on
Yeah.
open
We
space,
had
trails,
Val's-
so forth.
Val's game, as it were.
That was Woodbridge Like Me, but I could try to.
That's what we had, and
Yeah.
we've never done an Earth Day thing, that I know.
Oh, we haven't done Earth, okay.
Hmm?
We have never done Earth Day before. Oh,
So we're talking about what we had at the Woodbridge.
And you
Oh, I
can
see.
really do the same thing for both events, cause it works really nicely, yeah. And it's about, they seem to be getting bigger every time, like this Woodbridge, this Earth Day event, if the weather's nice, is gonna be very big. And
I would think
the
so.
hope is that it will continue to get bigger and bigger, they're gonna have food trucks, it's gonna be a whole,
Yeah.
it's gonna be an event. And so to be able to, have conservation, especially where this new plan is being developed, just to educate the people, to come along.
That might be interesting to tell them there's a plan of conservation and development.
Yeah,
Maybe we should develop some talking points next time on the meeting you're not gonna be here.
I'll send over some time.
so I guess Diana, if we can
What
get,
day is it? It's on
it's the 27th,
No, I'm sorry. Our next meeting is on the.
Eleven.
the 11th.
March, isn't it?
It sounds like you're going off on other planning.
Yes.
So I will ask, though, as you consider what to do, I think it would be helpful again to have some information available about people volunteering for second Sunday and on the
yeah,
trip.
Bring it with
Absolutely.
us,
So-
yeah.
That's a great
So
place.
wanna drop everything off at me at my house?
Sure.
And maps and second Saturday or Sunday and whatever else you think
Yeah.
you have, and we'll try to get some of these
Jim, if you
templates.
want, I have the Greenway map at the
No.
library.
So
The
Earth
Greenway
Day is
maps?
April 27th.
The one, the
Okay.
one big one that shows the,
Right.
It's like 10
Yeah,
to
and I have-
3.
Yeah.
I mean, you would
That
have to
one was
set
a-
up and everything.
Well,
had a
that's what I was
problem
wondering
with
is
it, I
about
think.
the
That's why
Earth Day
I-
event.
That
Do we
was the
want
one
to,
that-
do people
that
want to
brought
volunteer for a
to the
time slot so that
meetings
that's
with-
one of
Yeah.
the-
So we
whatever.
talked about that before
Yeah.
you came.
I have the other ones. I'll
and
do those.
I
You
am
know,
going
you
to
keep
already
that
be at the
for
Massaro
purposes of the
4-H
Historical
table, so
Society
I
that
am
we
not
need.
no,
gonna
it
be
sits there
able
with
to.
the, behind all the trail
So
maps.
we were
Valerie
talking
might be able
about
to.
who
I could do
could.
maybe 10, I could do half
Barbara's
of
gonna be
that,
part of
10 to,
history. I'm gonna
the
maybe be
first
part of
half.
there. You can be there. And
Yeah,
Ben.
and I'll be there, and I'm also on the sustainability committee for the event, so.
Bye, Tim.
Thank you,
Bye,
Jen.
thank you.
It sounds like a lot of people have divided interests there, or multiple interests.
We
You
so-
know,
wear,
that's what I'm
we
saying,
wear
if-
multiple hats.
If we're all gonna be there, you know, like I'll split my time between sustainability and conservation.
Okay.
I'm trying to
Well,
find
I'll
out if
try to-
there
If we
are.
get a time schedule,
Well, when you do
I'm
the
happy
agenda
to
for next
Yeah,
time,
I
and you're
can
not gonna
sign
be here,
up for
can
some
you,
part of it, but
I can
make
sign up
it
for some
slots
part of
for
it.
at
You
Yes,
least,
say
and
you
everyone
have
can
hats,
take an
I
hour
have
or
hats.
hour
And
and
half.
15 minutes or whatever.
there might not be, I think we should maybe do 3 longer ones, cause there aren't that gonna be.
So the Conservation Commission in Branford would hand out seedlings for like, you know, like native trees that they want people to plant, so I'm gonna see if I can find something like that for our commission.
And there's probably a budget for it if we vote. We can vote tonight that if you, for $100 or something to put towards that.
Okay.
If we're,
I'm sorry, Diane, what did you say about the seedlings?
Yeah, so I was saying the town of Branford gets like, you know, seedlings that they can hand out to people that
That
they
would
go home and plant,
be, yeah, that would
you
be
know,
great.
like,
Just
so
make sure
wanna
they're native.
propose that?
no, that's what
Okay.
it is. Native
Do you
seedlings,
wanna
yeah.
propose that? And
Bamboo.
No.
Native bamboo.
No, no
Joke for
barberry.
anybody watching that thinks we're gonna get
Well, I
bamboo
can
in town.
contribute a
Can
lot of
we
that.
make a proposal, we'll agree on that so that you're not gonna be here next time to,
April 11th, you're not here, right?
You know what, I land earlier in the day, so I should be able to be here.
okay. But I still think I propose that we support Diana in this idea of getting seedlings and using
Yeah.
$100 or $150 of our money.
Be
to-
specific in-
$125 of our money.
if you're
for
making a
the
motion.
seedlings. I'm
Yeah.
making a
About,
motion.
what, should they be organic or?
I'm making a motion
What?
that we support Diana investigating
They're not vegetable plants. They're like,
native,
they're
just-
like
I'm making a
little
motion.
flowers or,
Oh, okay,
you know,
I'm sorry.
trees
I
or
th- I
something
thought
like
these
that,
were- I thought they
yeah.
were vegetables, okay. I'm sorry.
I'll have vegetables at the Massaro
Yeah, I was gonna say, I
table
think
and the 4-H
Massaro will
table.
probably have the vegetable plants, the
Okay.
seedlings, right, for.
Well, I'm not sure, we were thinking of
Wait,
doing
wait,
seed
Sorry, hold on, we have a
paper.
motion on the table. No discussion, motion on the table, go ahead.
I propose to support Diana investigating and purchasing $125 worth of native plant seedlings in anticipation of giving them out at Earth Day on April 27th in Woodbridge.
I second.
All in favor?
Another thing too, you could do if you couldn't get
Joy, let's keep
seedlings.
this really,
Sorry.
talk to her separately because we need to go.
I know. Is Eco 59
What?
the Ecotype project? You could get some seeds.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so, there's a few other items on our agenda, if I can find the agenda. One I remember is that, Diana and I had 4 hours to accept the idea of, supporting the Pond Lily project and then getting a grant similar to, not, from the same source, DEEP, and we just want to let you know that we did that, and it's reiterating our support that Tim had done a year ago. So basically, we're continuing to support their project.
Oh, okay.
And there was one other thing on the agenda, which is, Westward Road.
Scenic road designation?
Are we doing Enoch Road or are we doing Westford Road?
Well, you had the idea of, can you,
Okay, this is a whole new thing. Kind of background, I learned that, well, I don't know whether everybody realizes that there are a lot of weeping cherry trees on Westwood Road.
It's my favorite road.
And people come from all over town to look at these things for the 1 or 2 or 3 days that they really are viable every year. And these trees were planted by the Stoddard family, who were a pretty old family in town. And I myself personally, and it's purely personal, I kind of consider them the town tree because of all, and they're all over town too. They're not just on Westwood Road, but they're kind of a mass of them there. And I learned one day, I've been fearful of this, and I happened to be driving by one day and learned that UI is planning on cutting
No.
any of them that are within 8 feet of the
You can
wires.
say no.
And,
can
well,
say no.
I wasn't talking to anybody I could say no to. I mean, I said no to him, but he had no authority.
You're like, get out of here.
So I spoke to our first selectman about it. Well, first I asked, first of all, I realized that possibly you have to go to each individual landowner and have them say no, and then it might even go further than that, and they have to go to,
it's a long process.
yeah, anyway. And suddenly I came up with the idea that maybe it could be designated as a scenic road. And we do have at least one in town, and I went to find out how that was done. And it's, nobody that I've talked to seems to know, but I talked to Warren. He said, you go to the first selectman to do it. I said, yes, but there's got to be a process. You don't just walk into the first selectman and say, I want to make a scenic road. Anyway, I also talked to the first selectman, and they apparently are now discussing it. And people think it should be done.
Would it
I
be
don't know whether it
helpful
will
if we-
stop UI, but it certainly would help.
Would it be helpful if we made a motion and voted that we're in agreement with that, or is that unnecessary at this point?
No, I think probably the commission should be public about the fact that they would like that to happen.
Yes.
I
Because
think that's
even if
something
one
that's-
of the trees came down in a storm, I know why that UI, because they're cutting a bunch of trees down on my street. But every storm, we lose power because there's a lot of really sad trees that come down, and it's very costly. I get that, but like a street like Westward, you know, where they're absolutely beautiful, God forbid they do split in a storm and they come down, they'll clean it up, you know, but that would be murderous to take those trees down.
Okay, so do
And-
you wanna make a motion? I mean,
Yeah.
I think we're all in agreement.
I can make a motion that the
That we support
Conservation
it.
Commission support the effort to designate Westwood Road as a scenic road in Woodbridge. This would be a town designation, not
Yes.
a state designation.
And that may give some protections to those trees on that road. Or if they ever wanted to widen it, or any other weird thing,
Right.
it would help that, yeah. I second it.
All in favor? Okay.
Kathy, do you need that repeated? You got it?
I got it.
I'm not taking notes this time, I'm sorry.
Well, now you tell me when the meeting's over.
Well, we haven't adjourned yet, you can start taking notes right now, Danny.
Okay, sure.
Thank you for doing that.
Do we have anything else? Any members have any other topics they wanna bring up?
I have a question, but we can keep it for next week if we don't have the time. You just-
Well,
What's
let's
the
member
question?
comments.
So I just wanted to find out the development on Merritt. I've driven by there and I had not seen any progress lately. I didn't know if something had happened.
Or
So.
any degeneration, no progress? I know nothing about it, do you?
I don't know where they're at. I don't know, there's somewhere with that, but I don't know where, I don't know if the plan has been actually okayed yet.
Yeah, they had to go back to TPZ for
Yeah, I think there's
reasons.
something going on.
So now they're gonna have to they had to redo some things or had to go back and get, approved again.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
there's
Speaking
something
of that, before we adjourn, is anyone gonna go to the TPZ meeting? Did we talk about that?
You would,
Oh, you are, Val.
you would,
Oh, great.
right, you would
Okay.
ask me to, I will try to do that.
Okay,
if I
that's
can.
great.
What about Coopop?
Coopop just got
It
canceled.
Oh, that's right.
It just got canceled and I will do it. I'm just waiting to find out what the
What the
new
next
date will be.
Okay, great.
Other
I
than
move we
that, we're
adjourn the meeting.
April 11th is our next meeting, right?
April 11th, yep.
I second.
Provided that.
Make a motion.
Joy.
Nope.
Big surprise. Thank you, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.